This is American Hope Talk Radio with your host, W.L. Laney. His guests are real people who have overcome real obstacles and are willing to share their experiences with you, bringing hope for the challenges standing in the way of your greater success. Listen while we deal with life as it is today and reveal how hope for the future can bring you more success than you have ever imagined. Now let's get on with today's show.
You're listening to American Hope Talk Radio. I'm your host, W.L. Laney. My guest is Aimee Elizabeth, the author of Poverty Sucks, How to Become a Self-Made Millionaire. Aimee, I couldn't agree more. Welcome to the show. You've got a message of hope, so let's get to it.
All right. Thanks, LW. It's a pleasure to be here.
All right. Now, your story, you may not know this, but it is very similar to mine. I left home at age 15.
I didn't know that.
My stepfather came after me with an axe. What happened to you?
That's a good reason to leave.
I thought so, even though it was very cold and I got frostbite getting to the nearest town, which was 3 miles away, where some people took me in. Tell me your story.
Mine was equally hostile, but not with the physical, thankfully. I came home one day. My mother and I had been battling things out for months. Apparently, Dad was having an affair, unbeknownst to me at the time. She knew it, and there's this thing they do where they pick a scapegoat in the family, where they pick on the strongest child and to get a big reaction to try to regain the attention of the wandering spouse. And so I came home one day and found the screen door locked, and I couldn't use my key to open the front door, and I was perplexed, so I rang the doorbell, and my mom comes to the door drunk and says, "What do you want?" And I'm like, "Oh, I guess I don't live here anymore." She says, "Yeah, get your stuff. You're not coming back." Okay. I'm like, "All right.
All right. See you later." So Aimee, you were able to go into your room, and what'd you do? Pack a suitcase full of clothing?
I didn't own a suitcase, so I just got my clothing. I wasn't even allowed to take a bath towel with me. I tried to go into the hall closet and get one, and she shook her head no. So I didn't get that.
Okay.
My clothes.
All right. So.
And my bicycle.
Well, at least you had transportation.
Yes.
So where did you go?
No place immediately. It was a small town I lived in, and this happened in the evening. So small towns roll up at 7, 8, 9 o'clock at night. I waited, and the next morning went to the local smoke shop. That's what they were called in those days, but you could get a newspaper there. And I looked for apartments for rent. And fortunately, I'd been working since I was 8 years old, and I've always been extremely frugal with money. And my dad was a banker, so even though it wasn't totally legal, I don't think for a minor to have their own checking account, I had one. And from all my savings, from all my odd jobs over the years, and I had $1,500 in the bank, thank God, it saved my life. And I rented the first slum, cheapest apartment I could possibly find. And it had a fold-out couch that was my bed, and it had a fridge, so I was good to go. I dried off with my bathrobe every morning since I couldn't use a towel, and that's what I did. So my homelessness did not last long, fortunately.
But that's still tough.
Yeah. I lost my home, but I had a place to live. You know what I mean? Your family is your home.
Yes. So then you went to work, or how were you able to earn additional money? Because $1,500 isn't going to last very long.
No, it only lasted me a few months, but I was actually working at the time that I left home. But the job I had at the time was as a cashier at a grocery store, and I hated it. So I quit, and I just lived off my savings for the summer. You're 15 years old. You're not thinking past 5 minutes, let alone, how am I going to survive when the money runs out? I just figured I'd figure it out.
It's really pretty funny that you mentioned you were working in a grocery store, because that's one of the jobs that I had when I left home too. I recall one very warm summer day. I didn't have money to buy groceries, and I wasn't the cashier. I was the carry-out boy. So I had a bag of groceries in my hand and a tray of very ripe, very delicious looking strawberries sitting under my nose. With my stomach growling. So
that's brutal. I've been there. I know how it is. I couldn't afford food either.
So I'm assuming, Aimee, that you believe in doing whatever it takes to become successful.
Absolutely, absolutely. It
So,
was.
how would you describe some of your biggest hurdles, other than the fact that you're thrown out of the house at age 15? What are some of the other things that you've had to overcome?
Well, that was probably the most major one because when your whole family turns on you, it really does a number on you. I mean, I'd been the family favorite for years, and it was like, huh? What happened here? I'm the same person as I was last year. What changed? So that was very difficult to deal with. And my mother ran around trying to get me thrown out of high school, and I found a boyfriend, and she went and threatened their family. You know, she just didn't want me to have anyone at all in my life to help me or to care for me or to show me any kindness whatsoever. But so that was difficult. But I don't know, I just kind of had a never give up mentality. The night that I got kicked out, I actually said out loud to myself, Aimee, your parents were making you crazy, but you're an adult now and it's up to you to fix your own life. And I think I was trying to comfort myself, but I really meant those words. From that point forward, it was on me. It was no longer on them.
Okay, so when you say, are you a winner or a whiner, that's when you first made that decision that you were going to be a winner?
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
And how is that going to play for people today? We're living in a society with the unemployment rate still above 7%. We're a generation of baby boomers that are rushing toward retirement, which is going to be a cashless retirement. I read a statistic the other day that the average savings for people over age 50 is like $15,000. There's no way you can retire on that. So how do these people win today? What advice are you going to give them?
I would advise them to get out there and start their own home-based service business for something that they have a passion for. Because no, $15,000 is not going to be enough for retirement. Social Security, if they're counting on that lasting, maybe it'll be here, maybe it won't. I don't know. I have my doubts, but I don't have a crystal ball.
Well, even
But even if it is here, it's not going to be a comfortable retirement. It's going to be,
you can't,
canned food and staying home and.
right, you can't retire on it. I've been on Social Security for 4 years now, and if I'm real careful, it covers green fees. There's no way. There's no way you could live on it.
Technically, I could live on it because I could still live on $1,000 a month or less because I have frugal habits. But most people would not find that to be a pleasurable retirement or a comfortable one.
Okay, on $1,000 a month, you're going to live in a single wide mobile home out on the edge of town somewhere in some slummy area, and like you say, buy canned corn to eat.
Yeah, I didn't say it would be safe, happy, or healthy, but it could be done. It's not desirable. It's not what you want. So yeah, I think people should not plan on retiring early if they don't have any savings. You need to have savings. If they still are determined to and they're homeowners, better plan on renting out a few rooms in your house for some additional income or starting a home-based service business.
I was intrigued by the fact that you did that very early on.
I did.
Actually ended up with more money than you were paying for rent, that you got in rent from people that you were, okay, here, you can sleep on this couch or whatever. Fairly good for a young girl, that's just been thrown out of her home.
Yeah, I was thrilled. I was pleased as punch and knew I always wanted to be a landlord again. And I hung on to that, and I did.
Okay, so you said that you did not want to try to live on what somebody else was willing to pay you, that you had to be in business for yourself. And so you started your own first business. What kind of a business was that?
That was a fashion show business. What we were, it was like happy hour entertainment in lounges, like Holiday Inn lounges before the band started. We would put on a fashion show like from 6 till 8 or 7 till 9, whatever time the band played, so that they could sell more drinks. And it was great fun, and we do a little raffle for one of the outfits at the end of the show. And I had many girls working for me, and I didn't have to work at all if I didn't want to, because I had a manager who did a terrific job for me, and I could just sit home and kick back if I wanted to.
All right, and how old were you when you started that?
20.
20? And how'd you get the idea?
Actually, I had worked for somebody else doing it that had that business on a part-time basis, and I went, this is easy. I could do this. And then I could keep all the money.
Okay, so the key to starting a successful business, then you mentioned service business, and I would agree with you that you should be in a service business. I have my reasons. What's your reason for recommending a service business?
I recommend a service business for a lot of reasons. One, you virtually have no overhead. As you gain or lose accounts, you just hire more or get rid of people to handle them. And you can develop residual income off of a service business. Once you sell a client and they contract for your service, they might keep you for decades. And you've only spent an hour selling them, and that money's coming in every month while one of your employees does the work. And residual income is the very best income there is.
Absolutely, absolutely. A recent statistic said that anybody who is 50 and over is going to spend at least an average of 44 weeks trying to find a new job. And then the problem with the new job is you're going to lose it too with the next downturn or somebody younger coming in. So what do you say to that person that's been searching for a job for 3 months and hasn't found one?
I say the best job security is to create your own through your home-based service business. And the ones that I had that were the most successful, I started for $1,000 or less. Anyone can come up with $1,000. And, once you've got it going and making you money, now if you lose a client here or there, you still have your business. Your income fluctuated a little up or down, but you never lose your business.
That's right, and you don't have to spend a lot of money. I've got a book on my bookshelf talking about businesses that were started for $100,
Mm-hmm.
and
Sure, that could be done.
they're out there. So how do I spot them?
Well, if you can't think of one on your own, think, because I always say you should find something that you enjoy doing to start with. So then just do an internet search on that and businesses. Whatever the subject is, or businesses you can start for $100, or businesses you can start for $1,000, and see what comes up. See what piques your interest. Mm-hmm. I found a book once that had a listing of home-based service businesses, and I leafed through all those, and a lot of them were franchises where, like one of my businesses was an indoor plant business, and I found it in this one particular book, but they only offered franchises, and one franchise cost up to $100,000. And I'm like, that's the price of a house. That's ridiculous. I can figure this out. So I ordered all their franchise materials, and I asked them a bazillion questions, which of course they answered because they think I'm a prospective client.
Right.
Then I interviewed all of my competition in town, which at the time wasn't very much, and that was another good thing to have, was not a lot of competition. And I saw how they did their presentation and how they dressed and what their pricing was. And again, I asked lots of questions, and I started that business for $1,000 on a credit card. I kept it 10 years, and that's the one I retired on when I was 38 years old.
That's absolutely great. Okay, so your book, Poverty Sucks, How to Become a Self-Made Millionaire. Mm-hmm. Tell me, what am I going to get out of reading that if I am unemployed and kind of down in the dumps emotionally? What am I going to get reading your book?
Well, in chapter 1, you're going to get an overview of my history. So you'll see that if a homeless teenage girl can make it, it should give you the faith in yourself that you can too. In the next 2 chapters, you get my definition of a winner and a loser. And if you develop your mindset properly, you too can be a winner. And then from there on out, the rest of the book is the nuts and bolts of how to do it. Everything you need to know, every little detail. It gives you about 20 examples of home-based service businesses that you can do. If none of those pique your interest, it tells you how to brainstorm and come up with your own ideas. But it tells you everything from accountants to, legalities to insurance to marketing and advertising and getting your customers, how to get your employees. It's a roadmap, it's a blueprint, it's written in language a 5th grader could understand. You don't need a fancy college degree. Pretty much any home-based business you can start for $1,000 or less if you watch the money.
Okay, you're listening to American Hope Radio. I am your host, W.L. Laney. My guest is Aimee Elizabeth. The book is Poverty Sucks: How to Become a Self-Made Millionaire. And if a homeless teenage girl can retire by age 38 with more than $1 million, what can you do? Here's my next question, Aimee. Do you consider yourself especially gifted?
Not really. Everything to me feels just normal. And even though I always did well in school, I excelled, I was always a straight A student and all that, none of my success had anything to do with that. The only skills I needed, I had by the 5th grade. So don't be saying, oh, well, you're smarter than the rest of us. No, I wasn't. I mean, I may have been, but that's not why I was successful. I was successful because I didn't give up. And I was just determined I was going to succeed. And that was that. There was no other alternative.
You're working with streetteens.org. How important do you feel it is to give back?
I think it's very important. When I was going through my rough patch, there were people who showed me kindnesses that to them was nothing. They had me over for dinner or gave me some plastic picnic plates they were going to throw away. To them, that was nothing, but to me, that was like, oh my God, I can't believe your generosity and your kindness. I was just overwhelmed. And those people don't need my help. There's nothing I can do for them, so I want to give to those who need it. So I help with streetteens.org. For every copy of my book I sell on my website, I donate $1 to Street Teens. I schedule talks with the children there to show them, hey, I'm one of you and I made it, so you can too. So I'm a little bit more relatable to them. And I've donated books to the charity as well and they tell me that a lot of them have been stolen, which I take as high praise that the kids wanted to keep them. And I'm happy about that. So
that's great. Aimee, thank you for being with us today. Tell us how our listeners can contact you.
Certainly. It's been my pleasure to be here, WL. You can contact me at www.aimeelizabeth.net. That's amyelizabeth.net. And you can get all the information you need right there on the website.
You've been listening to American Hope Talk Radio. I'm your host, WL Laney. For additional information, you can contact us toll-free at 855-WL-LANEY. That's 855-955-2639. Aimee, thank you so much for being with us and sharing that there is hope. And if you can do it, if I can do it, anybody can do it.
Absolutely. I totally agree. Thank you, WL. It was a pleasure being here.
Thank you for being with us.
You have been listening to American Hope Talk Radio with WL Laney. Questions and comments can be emailed to wl@wllaney.com. Go to www.wllaney.com for more programs like the one you heard today.